Tyreek Hill, the Miami Dolphins' most electrifying offensive weapon, is no stranger to adversity. He's built a career on speed, agility, and an ability to turn any play into a highlight reel moment. But in 2024, something felt different. It wasn't just the typical wear and tear of an NFL season. There was something off, something that dulled the once razor-sharp edge that made Hill nearly unstoppable. And now, we finally have the full picture. Since August, Hill had been playing through a wrist injury that, at first, seemed minor. But as the season progressed, it became clear that this was more than just a nuisance. It was a limitation. The injury, sustained in a joint practice with Washington, resulted in ligament damage to his left wrist. Instead of opting for immediate surgery, Hill chose to fight through it, determined not to let anything slow him down. In hindsight, that decision may have cost him more than he realized. Statistically, Hill still put up solid numbers, but by his own standards, they were subpar. A player who had spent the past few years redefining what an elite wide receiver looks like was suddenly struggling to reach his usual heights. He finished the season with 81 catches for 959 yards and 6 touchdowns, respectable for most, but a clear step back for a player who had set his sights on a historic 2,000-yard campaign. The physical toll was visible. The deep plays that had become his signature were fewer and farther between. The game-breaking speed was still there, but something about his movements lacked the same fluidity. The frustration built over time, and it all came to a head after the Dolphins season came to a disappointing end. Hill, never one to hold back his emotions, made headlines with comments suggesting he wasn't happy in Miami. "I'm out," he said in a moment of raw honesty, sending shockwaves through the fan base and sparking rampant speculation about his future. Was he just venting? Was there something more to it? The uncertainty lingered for weeks. Then came the news that Hill had finally undergone wrist surgery, officially putting an end to the speculation about his injury. The procedure, though not unexpected, confirmed that Hill had been operating at less than 100% for months. Head coach Mike McDaniel wasted no time reassuring fans that the situation was under control. "It wasn't broken, just needed some repairs," he said, doing his best to downplay any concerns. The plan is now clear. Hill will focus on conditioning throughout the spring while allowing his wrist time to heal. No catching drills. No unnecessary risks. The goal is to have him fully ready for summer workouts, giving him ample time to return to form before the 2025 season kicks off. But what does that really mean for Miami? Is this just a bump in the road, or is there reason for concern? Hill's game is built on more than just speed. It's about his ability to track the ball, adjust mid-route, and make impossible catches look routine. A wrist injury, no matter how minor, is a problem for a player who relies on those skills. Recovery might be straightforward, but regaining confidence in his hands could take time. Agent Drew Rosenhaus has done his part to squash any lingering doubts. "He'll be ready," he said with conviction, but words only go so far. The reality is that Hill's status will be under a microscope from the moment he steps back on the field. Every drop pass, every hesitation in his routes, every moment that doesn't quite feel like vintage Tyreek Hill will be scrutinized. The pressure is on, and in Miami, expectations are sky high. And then there's the other looming question. What does this mean for Tua Tagovailoa? The connection between Hill and Tua has been the backbone of Miami's offense. When they're clicking, the Dolphins are one of the most dangerous teams in the league. But when one piece of that puzzle isn't at full strength, the whole operation suffers. Tua already faces enough questions about his long-term viability as a franchise quarterback. If Hill isn't 100% in 2025, those questions will only grow louder. While Hill's recovery dominates the headlines, another major storyline is unfolding that could have an even greater impact on Miami's future: the uncertain status of Javon Holland. Holland has been a rock for the Dolphins' defense since the moment he entered the league. A leader in the secondary, a playmaker with a knack for being in the right place at the right time, and a player who embodies everything Miami wants in its defensive identity. But as the offseason progresses, it's becoming more and more likely that his time in Miami is coming to an end. The Dolphins have decided not to use the franchise tag on Holland, effectively allowing him to test free agency. It's a decision that signals the team might already be preparing for life without him. The writing has been on the wall for weeks, with subtle hints appearing across social media. Holland himself seems to have taken notice. In a recent episode of his podcast, he made a passing comment about how he's been left out of the team's promotional content. "I'm not in none of this stuff no more," he said, and it didn't go unnoticed. Losing Holland would be a gut punch. He's been one of the most consistent performers on the Dolphins' defense, and his versatility is something you can't easily replace. But the reality is, Miami is in a tough spot financially. The salary cap is tight, and keeping a player like Holland won't be cheap.